An awards ceremony to industry professionals that are doing a commendable job in the water and power industry. Sicelo Xulu, the managing director of City Power, is one of the recipients of the awards. He won the African Utility Executive of the Year. We now cross to him as he joins us from our Cape Town studio from Parliament. A very good morning to you and congratulations.
Good morning, Lauren, and listeners, viewers at home.
So what does the award mean to you at this period of time where there is just so much focus on energy in South Africa?
I can actually hardly connect with you, so if you can just assist me with that. I think there's a technical issue.
Okay, I'm going to try again. I know we've had a lot of guests in that studio. What does the award mean for you and City Power?
I think I must say firstly that I'm deeply honored and humbled by this noble gesture. I think what really makes it so meaningful to me and exciting is that it's a gesture that comes from, the captains of the industry across the continent. So I think there's a really good recognition of what City Power is actually doing when it comes to the energy space, I think, within the South African context. So I think it goes to our employees within the company, and again also to the board of directors and the executive committee, and as well as our shareholder, which is the City of Johannesburg, for allowing me to lead the organization in the manner that I've done over the years.
Now, the award acknowledges a standard of excellence. What was the criteria and that standard that you met?
Again, I just couldn't hear you, so if they can just help me with that, apologies.
The awards acknowledge a standard of excellence. What was the standard and the criteria that you met to be given this award?
I think really, as we've said, I think the award is really the culmination of the work that the organization has done through my leadership. What basically the award looked at was the efficiency within the organization in terms of what the organization has achieved from the financial perspective, but also in terms of the efficiencies derived within the organization itself. I probably will recall that there are a couple of strategies that we've implemented within City Power in terms of introduction of shift, for instance. We've also brought in about 300 employees as that result, where we were able to derive some of the financial benefit and then put that through towards creating some of the jobs. But also over and above that, we've come up with some of the key initiatives that really revolutionize the industry in terms of going forward around smart grid, renewable, for instance, and making sure that we start introducing technologies like, for instance, time of use, load limiting, etc.
It must be a very difficult position that you're in as well, because of the amount of focus that is on the energy sector currently in South Africa, because of our energy security and currently the load shedding that we're experiencing. In Johannesburg, in Gauteng, we had Soweto residents protesting against electricity meters. How do you, as leading the organization that you do, how do you gauge and manage these massive challenges while also trying to maintain a certain level and contain those challenges?
Now, certainly, I think it's a very difficult time for the industry. If you look at the issues of load shedding, for instance, and also the issues of the increase in tariffs and resulting in some of the customers not willing to pay for the services. So it means that we need to approach our communities very, very differently in terms of engaging them and making sure that they understand that what we're trying to achieve as utilities in terms of delivering the services to the entire, I think, Gauteng, if you want to put it that way, I think, community and South Africa at large. So for me, really, how we strike the balance, firstly, you need to have the motivated employees, and I think within City Power and the City of Johannesburg, that's exactly what we have, where we've got people that are committed to be able to deliver. But over and above that, I think to try and avoid situations that we've seen, I think, happening in many communities where there are obviously service delivery protests, we need to then make sure that we take those communities along from the education point of view and be able to discuss them and show the value of some of these technologies that we implement implementing. I think we've done the same in Alexandra, for instance, where we actually got the communities of Alexandra to be part of the project where we're installing prepaid meters, for instance. And I think it's a model that can be employed in other areas where you get the key people within the community, you get them to participate in terms of being involved in the project and be able to create jobs within the communities, and also make them understand why they have to pay for the services for the better, I think, service delivery throughout the city of Johannesburg. And I think that's an approach that we've taken, and I'm sure that as we continue to engage with our counterparts, either at ESCOM or other municipalities, these are some of the models that we've also discussed here at the African Utility Week, and sharing ideas and say, how do we approach some of these particular issues so that we don't have a backlash that we've seen, I think, recently.
How are you guys going to be going about recouping those funds from those people that have unpaid bills?
Obviously, I'm not really referring to Soweto specifically in this particular case, but we've got defined processes as utilities, again, across the continent, where we need to follow through in terms of collections. And again, if those collections don't realize in a particular space of time, we then need to follow through in terms of credit management, for instance, where we either facilitate some of the individual cutoffs or move towards a point where we engage, as I'm saying, educate, and make sure that we also make sure that we install some of the infrastructure or the meters that people can be able to trust and that can be able to engage or interact with, so that you can bring confidence in terms of them paying for those services.
Mr. Xulu, please give us some clarity. There is a perception that prepaid meters are more expensive. Is that true?
It's not true, but let me probably have to say that the issue of pricing of electricity does not relate to the type of the meter. It's all about the tariff structure that you've put in place. So what we've done in the past is that for customers that consumes less than 1,000 kilowatt hour, for instance, per month, those we've put on prepaid because they're actually not consuming high. And what we've done, I think, over and above that, we've structured the tariff in such a way that it actually is pro-poor. In the sense. But also, if you look at the city of Johannesburg, we've got a program that is called Siyasizana, for instance, where some of the indigent customers can be able to get up to about 150 kilowatt hour free on monthly basis. So therefore, the pricing of the electricity, it's basically not related to the type of the meter, but it's a means to measure that, and therefore you need to be able to make sure that the meter that you're using can be able to handle the tariff structure. But I must say that as part of the policy, I think within the city of Johannesburg, we recognize the poorest of the poor, and therefore we've got a lifeline tariff structure that is geared towards them, which is far much cheaper than looking at the other areas. But over and above that, we also encourage customers to move towards prepaid. So if you're on prepaid, you actually don't pay some of the service charges. Like, for instance, if we don't going to send you a bill, you don't have to pay for administration cost, for instance. But again, in terms of the kilowatt hours that you use, in terms of cents per kilowatt hour, they are actually less than when you're actually on a postpaid meter, for instance.
Okay,
so just to answer your question, it is cheaper. It is cheaper.
It is cheaper for those that are using less electricity.
Exactly. We've got what we call this inclining block tariff. I'm sure you are aware of it. So basically what it says is that the more you use, the more you pay. And again, if you employ some of the measures and you save, you will obviously be able to pay less.
So what about those people that are maybe using more than that 1,000 kilowatts that you have as kind of a benchmark? What about them? Are you not encouraging them to go on to prepaid then?
No, we also encourage them to go to prepaid. I mean, we're actually putting smart meters in those areas. And smart meters, you can either operate it as postpaid or as prepaid. So we also encourage them to move towards prepaid as well. And if they do that, they also then benefit from the low rate, I think, firstly. But secondly, they also benefit from some of the fixed charges where you're looking at, administrative charges where you have to generate a bill and send it to the bill to the customer. So those charges are actually taken away because you're on prepaid. So therefore it becomes cheaper.
Despite the amount of electricity that you use, but surely that increasing, the fact that the tariff increases the more electricity you use then may negate the benefits of prepaid for those heavier users.
I think what we're encouraging the intensive users is that they need to start employing some of the demand-side management initiatives or energy efficiency within their homes. We've been saying that, especially for space heating, for instance, let's try and probably use gas for space heating. And also, if you can be able to shift your cooking to gas, let's try and do that. And I think that's for the good of the country, especially with the security of supply issues that we're currently faced with. And that's what we want everyone to be able to do. I think that will actually take us a long way in terms of trying to avert the load shedding that we're currently seeing. So that's what we're encouraging. We're not saying because you actually have money, so therefore you can just use electricity the way you want to, even if you do have money. But just for the security of supply within the country, we're encouraging customers to be able to start introducing rooftop, say, solar PV, for instance. We want them to be able to try and use gas to cook and space heating, etc., so that during the morning and evening peaks, we then try and actually save the grid from collapsing as a result of the wastage or the high usage of electricity. And that's what we're encouraging.
Yeah, that certainly helps. Just as we are starting to run out of time, what is City Power's contribution to the fight against illegal connections?
I mean, we started the program a long time ago. I think we've been very vocal, especially around copper theft, I think, for instance, but also in terms of illegal connections. We've done extensive education in most of those areas that we are prone to the theft of electricity. But over and above that, we've also looked at certain technologies where we are deploying some of the protective structures to try and at least deter people from stealing electricity. So we've got a multi-pronged approach where we educate, where we also make sure that we give fines to those that we find that they're actually stealing electricity. But over and above that, we've picked up that there's some sort of like organized crime in this particular area, and I think we've come out very harshly against those, and there's been investigation that includes also crime intelligence in making sure that we deal with this particular case. And I think our executive mayor has been championing this and has been in the public and actually requesting that large power users and also persons of the poor should stop stealing electricity because it's obviously just counterproductive in terms of the cause that we're trying to achieve within the city of Johannesburg. And I think that's what we would like to encourage everyone to say, stay away from the theft of electricity and make sure that you report those illegal connections, and we'll certainly, as a utility, be able to respond accordingly in making sure that we deal with those perpetrators.
Yes or no, as winter approaches, will the lights stay on for people in Johannesburg?
I think you've answered me. It's yes and no, because you know about the load shedding. So obviously, as the city of Johannesburg, we will make sure that we keep the lights on, I think, within the city of Johannesburg. However, if there are any other, constraints beyond our control, we need to then make sure that the communities partner with us in making sure that they save electricity so that we can be able to keep the lights on. And again, there will be pressures in the infrastructure as we normally get, especially during the winter period. And we are actually asking in advance that customers should try and use electricity sparingly during this particular period so that we can assist the grid, I think, in terms of the municipalities, but also the generation capacity within Eskom. And I think that's what we should be advocating as we go through the winter, and making sure that if you've got any demand-side management initiatives that you have within your home, let's make sure that those kick in. Let's make sure that we also promote distributed generation so that we're able to go through this winter without any major interruptions, I think, within the country and Johannesburg as well.
MD, I'm going to ask you a personal question. Are you yourself on prepaid? And
yes,
do you
I'm
use
actually
gas?
on prepaid. Yes, I'm on prepaid. I'm on the 3-phase prepaid, and I basically buy my electricity every month. And I know exactly how much I'm spending on average on a monthly basis. And I'm actually using gas to cook as well. So I think I'm a very good example.
Lovely stuff. Leading by example. Thank you very much. As part of the reason why he was awarded the African Utility Executive of the Year. That's the MD of Joburg City Power, Sicelo Xulu. Congratulations on your award from the continent. It's an industry award to not only here in South Africa, but from the entire continent. So it's really a major achievement for him. Thank you very much for joining us here on Morning Live.